Nobody knows you better than yourself, not even those closest to you. Yet, deep down, there's a part of you that works against your own goals, dreams, and desires.
A hidden force within you sabotages your progress without you realizing it. And do you know why? Because you've been ignoring the whispers of your unconscious mind. The truth is brutal. We all have an inner shadow, a side of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. This shadow isn't evil. It's simply the parts of us we suppress, deny, or reject because they don't fit into our idealized self-image. But here's the problem. What you suppress doesn't disappear. It grows stronger. It lurks beneath the surface, shaping your actions in ways you can't control. Let me tell you something you may not want to hear. Every time you fail to confront your shadow, every time you avoid looking at the darker corners of your psyche, you hand over power to it. And when you give it power, it sabotages you. Not out of malice, but because it wants to be seen, heard, and integrated. But here's the paradox. Most people live their lives running away from themselves. They distract themselves with busyness, entertainment, or external validation, hoping to silence the unease inside. Yet, no matter how hard they try, the unease remains. Why? Because the shadow doesn't go away, it waits. It waits until you're tired, vulnerable, or distracted. Then, it strikes. That's why you procrastinate on what matters most, sabotage relationships, or settle for less than you deserve. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Think about that. Every failure, every missed opportunity, every moment of self-sabotage is not random. It's your shadow acting out, demanding attention. And until you face it, you'll continue to live as its prisoner. Here's the harsh reality. Self-sabotage isn't just about bad habits or poor decisions, it's about unresolved conflicts within you. Maybe you fear success because deep down you believe you're unworthy. Maybe you push people away because intimacy terrifies you. Or maybe you stay stuck in mediocrity because taking risks feels like stepping into unknown territory. Whatever the reason, it starts with one thing: avoidance. Avoidance is comfortable, at least in the short term. Facing your shadow is uncomfortable, messy, and often painful. But here's the truth. Growth only happens when you step into discomfort. If you keep avoiding your shadow, you'll never truly understand yourself. And if you don't understand yourself, how can you expect others to understand you? How can you expect to live authentically? Now, let's talk about what separates those who grow from those who stagnate. It's not intelligence, talent, or luck. It's courage. Courage to look inward. Courage to ask yourself the hard questions. What am I afraid of? What am I hiding from? What parts of myself have I rejected? Those who grow are willing to sit with these questions, even when the answers scare them. But here's the catch. Facing your shadow isn't a one-time event. It's a lifelong process. It's not glamorous or easy. There's no trophy at the end, no applause waiting for you. In fact, the deeper you go, the lonelier it gets. Because the more you integrate your shadow, the less you care about seeking approval from others. You realize that the only person whose opinion truly matters is your own. Do you know what happens when you ignore your shadow for too long? It leaks out in destructive ways. You lash out at loved ones. You sabotage opportunities. You create chaos in your life, then wonder why things never seem to work out. It's not bad luck, it's your shadow trying to get your attention. But here's the good news. You can reclaim your power. You can stop being a victim of your own unconscious patterns. How? By doing the hard work of introspection. Start small. Pay attention to your emotions, especially the ones you'd rather avoid. Anger, jealousy, shame, they're not flaws. They're signals. They point to areas of your life that need healing. For example, think about the last time you felt jealous. Instead of brushing it off or blaming someone else, ask yourself, what does this emotion tell me about my own insecurities? What am I lacking that I see in others? These questions might feel uncomfortable, but they hold the key to understanding yourself. Another way to confront your shadow is through dreams. Dreams are the language of the unconscious. They reveal truths about yourself that your waking mind might not be ready to face. Keep a dream journal. Write down your dreams as soon as you wake up. Look for recurring symbols or themes, they're messages from your shadow, trying to guide you toward wholeness. Now, Here's what separates transformation from stagnation. Consistency. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It's built brick by brick, insight by insight. Each time you face your shadow, you take back a piece of your power. Over time, these small victories add up. You become more grounded, more authentic, and more aligned with your true self. But beware of false starts. Many people dip their toes into self-awareness, only to retreat when it gets uncomfortable. They read books, attend workshops, or talk about personal growth, but they never actually change. Why? Because they mistake knowledge for action. Knowing isn't enough, you must act. Here's another truth. The world rewards conformity, but authenticity demands rebellion. Society tells you to fit in, follow rules, and play it safe. But Carl Jung knew better. He knew that true fulfillment comes from embracing your individuality, even if it means standing alone. Those who dare to walk this path are rare, but they leave a mark. Their presence commands respect, not because they seek it, but because they embody integrity. Think about the people you admire most. Are they perfect? No. Do they pretend to be something they're not? Never. They've done the hard work of integrating their shadow. They've faced their fears, owned their flaws, and emerged stronger for it. That's why they inspire you, not because they're flawless, but because they're real. Now, here's where most people falter. They confuse self-improvement with self-criticism. They beat themselves up for their mistakes, thinking that punishment equals progress. But Carl Jung would disagree. He believed that compassion, not judgment, is the key to transformation. When you criticize yourself, you deepen the divide between your conscious and unconscious mind. When you approach yourself with kindness, you begin to heal. So, how do you practice self-compassion? Start by acknowledging your humanity. You're not broken, you're human. Humans make mistakes. Humans have shadows. Accepting this doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior, it means taking responsibility for it. True accountability comes from love, not shame. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious mind, the parts we reject, suppress, or ignore, never truly disappear. They go underground, and once they're underground, they don't die. They grow teeth. They wait. They watch. They build stories around your identity, convincing you that who you are is what you've survived, not what you're capable of becoming. You start off with a goal: to be loved, to be respected, to be successful, to finally feel seen. But then something happens. You ghost the person who cared about you. You procrastinate on the project you said you wanted. You self-destruct when things finally feel good. And afterward, you don't even know why. You blame fear, you blame bad timing, you blame stress. But Carl Jung would say you didn't sabotage because of fear. You sabotage because deep down you don't believe you deserve what you asked for. And so, unconsciously, you pull the fire alarm just as the house of your dreams is being built. Think of the woman who prays for love. She meets someone who adores her. She feels safe maybe for the first time. And so, she pushes him away. Why? Because a part of her believes that love always leads to pain. And she'd rather destroy the relationship herself than wait to be abandoned. That's sabotage. That's the shadow at work. The shadow doesn't care about your dreams. It only wants what's familiar. And for many of us, what's familiar is suffering. It's the emotional chaos we grew up with, the silence after betrayal, the walking on eggshells feeling we had to master just to survive. So when you get close to joy, your shadow panics. Love? No, too risky. What if it ends? Success? No, what if I fail again? Recognition? No, who do you think you are? So it pulls the strings quietly, silently, until you destroy the very thing you prayed for. But here's the Machiavellian twist. You were loyal, not to your future, but to your pain. Carl Jung believed we must integrate the shadow, not kill it, but make it conscious. Because until you do, it will show up in your patterns. The job you ruin at the last minute, the partner you push away, the opportunity you forget to follow up on, and it's not because you're weak. It's because, on some level, sabotage has become your way of feeling safe. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar power. You don't sabotage to suffer. You sabotage to stay where you feel in control, even if that means living inside your own cage. And if that cage is made of your own thoughts, no one else needs to keep you there. You'll do it yourself. Let's get painfully honest. Here are 5 signs your shadow might be sabotaging your life. You say yes to people you resent. You start fights when things feel too calm. You downplay your skills to avoid judgment. You stay busy so you don't have to feel you always have a reason why it's not the right time. These aren't personality quirks. They're escape routes. They're exit signs the shadow installs to keep you in the familiar. You become addicted to almost ready, almost good enough, almost healed. Because actual transformation, it threatens the identity your shadow helped you survive with. At the core of sabotage lies one thing: an identity that hasn't caught up to your potential. You want things your self-image doesn't believe you're worthy of, so you pull the plug over and over until your outside world matches your inside beliefs. This is what Carl Jung meant when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You will think you're unlucky. You will think the world is cruel. But it's not fate, it's programming. And the good news, what was programmed can be rewritten. You say you want a loyal partner, but you choose people who abandon you. You say you want honesty, but you lie about how you feel. You say you want peace, but you chase people who bring chaos. Why? Because your shadow is more loyal to your past than to your future. It remembers the pain you never processed and builds your entire life to keep repeating it. Every relationship becomes a mirror, not to what you say you want, but to what your shadow still believes. And until you face it, you'll keep dating pain in a different body. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You cannot kill your shadow, but you can learn its language. When you integrate it, you stop acting out your trauma in secret. You stop blaming others for your reactions. You become whole, not perfect. And most of all, you become dangerous. Not because you harm others, but because you're no longer controlled by what you fear inside. You start to speak differently. You walk differently. You stop over-explaining. You stop shrinking. You stop trying to be liked by those who drain you. You become someone who can walk away, and that is power. Here's how to begin the integration. 1. Radical self-honesty. Admit the thoughts and emotions you pretend not to have. Even the jealous ones, the envious ones, the rage, the ego. 2. Pattern tracking. Look at what keeps repeating. Who triggers you? Where you break. Patterns don't lie, even when your words do. 3. Withdraw projections. Stop blaming the world. What you hate in others may be what you fear in yourself, especially when your reaction feels too big for the situation. 4. Befriend discomfort. Stop running from silence, stillness, and solitude. Growth happens in the discomfort most people avoid. 5. Speak your boundaries, even if your voice shakes, especially then, because every time you stay silent, your shadow wins. Carl Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. It's not the world you're afraid of. It's the parts of you you've buried. But the moment you face them is the moment your life begins to shift. Because here's what no one tells you. You don't become free by fixing your life. You become free by facing the part of you that doesn't think you deserve freedom. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not cursed. You're just divided. A part of you wants to grow. Another part is scared. The goal is not to destroy the scared part. The goal is to listen to it and then lead it. Because here's the truth. If you don't lead your shadow, it will lead you, and it won't lead you to joy. It'll lead you to sabotage again and again. But now, you've seen it. And once you see it, you can no longer pretend you don't know. Respect doesn't begin when others treat you well. It begins the moment you stop betraying yourself. So remember this. You're not a victim of your habits. You're the architect of your self-image. And the moment you stop playing small is the moment the shadow becomes your ally.
Here's the final lesson. Integration is the ultimate goal. It's not about erasing your shadow, it's about embracing it. Your shadow contains pieces of you that are raw, untamed, and powerful. These pieces are essential to your wholeness. Without them, you're incomplete. With them, you're unstoppable. Now, I want you to do something. If you've made it this far, you didn't just listen, you understood. And that puts you above 90% of those who only seek easy entertainment. So I want you to leave this phrase in the comments. I will embrace my shadow to become whole. That way, I'll know you're part of those who are ready to transform their lives. Subscribe, because what's coming next isn't for everyone. It's for those who are ready to stop living unconsciously and start becoming architects of their own destiny. And remember this, you didn't come into this world to hide from yourself. You came to build a life so authentic that even in silence, it resonates. See you in the next video or not. Because those who truly value their journey choose carefully where they invest their time. You'll know. Close the screen or let what you just heard stay with you forever.